Pilgrim's Progress. Relics have been popular since the 4th century, but in the medieval period they really took off. Every church needed a good relic. Rome had Peter and Paul. Santiago had discovered the bones of St. James. Venice had St. Mark. He had originally been at Alexandria, but his bones had been removed for safekeeping by Venetian tradesmen in 828, lest the Muslims desecrate his tomb. They were hidden in a barrel of pork to stop the Muslim customs officers from finding them. Indeed, there was big competition for relics. Your church was nothing if you didn't have a relic. In fact, the official definition of an altar in Roman Catholic canon law is still a sepulchre containing the relics of saints. Get a good first-class saint's relic and you are guaranteed prestige and increased tourism. If you removed a saint's relics from one place to another, it wasn't called theft, but translating, and was often accompanied by tales of miracles at the new resting place to show that the saint had really wanted a bit of change all along. Perhaps the most extreme example of this, craving for relics, is Bishop Hugh of Lincoln, who went to see the arm of Mary Magdalene at Fécamp. After having tried unsuccessfully to break off a piece of the arm, he attempted to bite off one of the index fingers. He went home with a few fragments, and probably toothache. There were bits of the true cross all over the place, and at least 3 heads of John the Baptist. One pilgrim was shown the skull of John the Baptist at 2 different places on 2 days running. And the treasury of Cologne Cathedral had, according to one list, the skull of John the Baptist at 12 years of age. I'm still trying to work that one out. These treasuries were the forerunners of modern museums, since they might include among the relics other objects of curiosity. The treasury of the Cathedral of St. Guy in Prague had the following: the skulls of Saints Adalbert and Wenceslas, the sword of St. Stephen, the crown of thorns, pieces of the true cross, the tablecloth used at the Last Supper, one of St. Margaret's teeth, a shin bone of St. Vitalis, a rib from St. Sophia, the chin of St. Alban, and St. Aphia's shoulder blades. It's like a medieval game of Operation. And I haven't even mentioned the ash plant of Moses, some of Mary's clothes, an elephant's tusk and a whale's rib. So what you like about St. Guy's in Prague? It's got something for everybody. But as we've seen, to visit and venerate and pray at the shrine of a saint was to touch salvation. If anyone was certain of a place in heaven, 100% bona fide saint surely was. And so, people began to travel long distances to pray at the shrine of a particular saint. The age of pilgrimage had begun. Medieval pilgrims believed they were heading for places where miracles happened. These miracles were carefully logged by the local monks. For instance, the Miraculi Sancti Wulstani logs the miracles occurring in the 13th century at the shrine of St. Wulstan in Worcester. Sometimes only a specific shrine could give you the results you wanted. A weaver in Canterbury who was crippled with a bone ache prayed for many years at the tomb of St. Thomas with no effect. Then a passing pilgrim from Norfolk recommended the shrine of St. Wulstan in Bulborough in Norfolk. Or should I say that? Bulborough. The weaver made a vow to go there, and immediately he was healed. In gratitude, he walked without crutches to Borberg, where he left a wax model of his leg as a votive offering. People often left wax, silver or gold models of the relevant healed body part at the shrine where they'd been healed. These were hung around the shrine as a kind of advert of the healing powers of the saint. When said body parts got too numerous, they were melted down. The wax ones are made into candles. I imagine you get quite a number of candles from one leg. Many shrines had pools associated with them, in which the pilgrims would bathe. You could bring back a vial of holy water from the river or the well, either to be drunk or to anoint the sick. Even a cynical scholar like Erasmus claimed that the water from the Walsingham spring was efficacious in curing pains of the head and stomach. But pilgrimage was about more than just visiting the shrine. There were other reasons too. Some pilgrims went out of gratitude. Sailors caught in a storm vowed that if God spared them, they would go on pilgrimage. A Frenchwoman caught in the throes of a difficult birth vowed with her husband that if she survived, they would go on pilgrimage together. The vow was later commuted on the grounds that every year after that she was pregnant and couldn't travel. Apparently some people never learn. Louis VII of France went on pilgrimage as an act of thanksgiving when he replaced a bad wife with a better one. Although clearly some just viewed it as a bit of a jolly, like Chaucer's wife of Bath, who was on the trip to Canterbury for the sake of the voyage. Pilgrimage was supposed to be difficult. Occasionally, church leaders reminded their flocks that pilgrimage was not supposed to be a holiday. Going barefoot was extremely popular. Some even went the entire distance on their knees. The suffering was supposed to add to the salvation. No pain, no heavenly gain. Their reward was, in the words of Bede, a warmer welcome from the saints in heaven. If you went on pilgrimage, it meant that you would be fast-tracked past the queues at the pearly gates and ushered into the VIP lounge, very important pilgrims, with the odd angel or two floating around with trays of canapes and a glass of sherry. The penitential aspect of pilgrimage is reflected in the fact that wrongdoers could be sentenced to go on pilgrimage by the courts or by the local bishop. When Peckham, Archbishop of Canterbury, found the rector of Hammer in the Diocese of Chichester guilty of continual incontinence and fornication with various women, he sentenced him to go on 3 pilgrimages, to Santiago, Rome, and Cologne. Incontinence here means lack of self-control, not the runs, which were more often a consequence of pilgrimage rather than a cause, especially if you drank the holy water. Appropriately, given the nature of his crimes, the rector's name was Roger. Presumably the idea of the 3 long journeys was to wear Roger the rector out. Such pilgrimages could be avoided if you paid a fine instead. A 1338 list of pilgrimages from the Flemish town of Oudenaarde lists various penitential pilgrimages along with their monetary value. The most expensive was a trip to St. Nicholas of Bari, which would cost you £20 to get out of. Interestingly, there are 3 British shrines listed: St Andrews in Scotland, £8, Our Lady at Salisbury in England, £6, and St Thomas of Canterbury in England, also £6. The cheapest was a pilgrimage to Our Lady of Ardenburg, which could be avoided for 12 shillings. Bargain. And it was pilgrimage, or opposition to it, that was to be the ostensible cause for one of the biggest tragedies of the whole of church history. But you know what that is. It's coming up next.